Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and today is the 9th of April, 2025. It's a beautiful day today. Again, it's cold this week, but at least we have sunshine today. Um, yeah, it's going to be a very busy day today. Next couple of days are going to be very busy. I know I have some people who I'm waiting to get back to, so if you're one of them, who's messaged me in the last couple of days, I will be getting back to you at some point today. And I don't have classes to teach today, but I am doing a live stream tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. Listen to me. Yes, I am doing a live stream here tomorrow morning. I'm doing the Cattonia live stream this afternoon at 3. Yeah, wow. I'm like, yeah. It's we've got the moon moved into Virgo, so there's definitely I have this whole. It's Mercury ruled, and Mercury is kind of sluggishly moving ahead right now. So I'm kind of in this space of needing to. I made the list before I got on today because I was just like, I need to figure it out. And then my sister messaged me this morning about because my birthday's coming up, and we were planning birthday celebrations and stuff for the family. Which we were going to do after my birthday, and now she's asking if we can do them on Monday. And I'm like, Monday I have to teach, so it would be a really, really tight scenario where we'd have to go, and then I'd have to get home, and I kind of have to rush, get things together, and then get out to my job in time. So it was, yeah, it's going to be an interesting rest of the month. We knew that the aspects were going to be really tough this month, so we'll see where everything ends up. I see a couple people are on, but I don't know who's on yet today. But today is going to be one of those days where I figured I would. There's not, like I said, it's kind of I don't want to say it's a quiet day astrologically. I don't think anything's quiet right now, but we're still in that phase before the end of Venus retrograde and before that full moon that's going to represent a kind of a shift over the weekend. So I thought maybe it would just be good to do a few tarot readings today and kind of see, where things go. Today I decided to go over to my shelf of decks that are not. And Alistair, hello. Okay, it's good. Good afternoon where you are. Yeah, I don't know if the live stream is slow to connect right now with YouTube. I know there was some weirdness yesterday, but apparently it didn't affect the live stream. Yeah, so I figured what I was going to do today is I have my, when I bought this deck, I think it's called something else now, but I have the Tarot Classic deck. This is when I bought it in the 1980s. That's what this was called. And I like this deck is an interesting one because it is a facsimile of, I think, the Marseille Tarot, which is one of the oldest tarot decks that was created. I don't think it's the oldest, but it is. It's a French deck, and it's one of the older ones. Now, this particular version has all the names and everything are in English, so this is not really an exact facsimile of that deck because obviously those all had French names on them. But I thought it was. I just was going through this. I have kind of two shelves. I have one shelf of tarot over here and cards that I use quite regularly, and then I have another shelf over on my bookshelf over there, which you can kind of see, which is a bit of a mess right now because I'm going through and getting rid of a lot of books and selling a lot of stuff on eBay, just trying to get rid of things because I do have a lot of books that are not the kind that you would throw into your local, your donate to your friends of the library book sale. A lot of them were very valuable books, so I sold quite a few of them already, but I do have a few more interesting little grimoires and special editions and things like that I'm unloading right now because I can't take all of that with me when I move. So yeah, so this is where we're kind of at right now. I'm going to pull some cards, I think, from this today just to kind of start and see where the energy is and where we're at. See, I'm thinking about 3, but we'll see how many actually jump out. Okay, a bunch jumped out, so we'll go with this. So let's see what we have here. Oh, wow. Interesting. There's a lot of sword energy here in this particular reading. And I do wonder, too, if that's because, because like I said, we're at the end of Mercury retrograde. Things are moving direct. One of the things that tends to happen when Mercury goes direct is that we end up getting into a space where we are able to, I don't know, with things that have not been clear or communications that have been, skewed, where there's been miscommunications, where things have not been clear. And good morning, Suda. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird because the live stream's a little slow this morning. But I'm going to basically, okay, I'm doing this reading. And yeah, right now I'm looking at, actually, it's mostly sword energy, which I think is interesting because, like I said, we've been in a period of not having a whole lot of clarity. We are trying to get things, trying to get clear on a lot of things. And I think being in this kind of Piscean space that we've been in, I feel like I'm in it this morning. I'm like, trying to get my head clear, even though even though my head does feel clear. I don't feel like I was telling people the other day, I'm sleeping better at night and so forth. So not so much about that. But there's a whole lot of interesting energy that's showing up today. So why don't I stop waffling and I'll just kind of get into what the reading says. Okay, so the first card we have is the Five of Swords. Okay, now we've talked about the Five of Swords. I've actually had a couple of things where I have we've had a couple of live streams where we've just talked about the Five of Swords. And Five of Swords energy, yeah, it's definitely an energy of feeling restricted. Like mentally speaking, I feel like, I think this is Venus in Aquarius. It's kind of like there's this energy of wanting to do things, but feeling like, I don't know, there's a lot of mental energy that's being poured on things. There's kind of a lot of, I almost kind of see it as the cold water of Aquarius, of the water bearer, kind of being poured on, what it is that what we're trying to do. And so this indicates a limitation, whether it's self-imposed or not. Now, the fact that swords are mental energy suggests to me that this is, that we feel limited in some way, or we're trying to envision a way forward for something, but we can't quite get there. We can't figure out exactly, what is, like, we can't see the way forward. We may feel like, I want to move forward, but I feel very limited right now by something. So there's definitely the sense here. And I feel like this has kind of been characteristic of this Venus / Mercury retrograde. And the way, because a lot of people have said this to me about just feeling like it's just a thing that there's just either a lot of stuff blowing up, or it just feels like there's a lot of things that are closing down or closing out. So we may feel like the walls are closing in on us a little bit with this card. And sometimes there's even a feeling of defeat with this card. Sometimes there's a sense of competition with this card, where we're competing and we feel like we are, sometimes this is a card of envy and jealousy. So I don't know. It could be taken a lot of different ways, but I'm seeing it here next to the Judgment card. Okay, and I guess I should cover up the bottom because we're on YouTube. But but Judgment is a card of awakening. So this is this energy of finally, like, okay, Judgment has an element of rebirth to it. So it's almost like there's this period of limitation that we have before this rebirth. But Judgment also has to do with finishing out a cycle, like being able to finally see something for what it is. And when I read that with the Five of Swords, I kind of feel like, okay, there's a sense of restriction that's going on here. Like we feel restricted, or we felt restricted, but it's almost like there's going to be a clarity about what needs to end. And maybe part of what's making us feel restricted is this idea that there's something, that we, something that we have to let go of. And we feel that by letting go of it, somehow that's going to limit us in some way. Okay. Like, in other words, like, oh, I'm going to lose this thing. And now I'm not going, because I'm losing A, I'm not going to be able to do B, C, and D. And, so it's kind of an interesting energy. And with Judgment, See you live. Oh, thank you very much. So yeah, so this is so judgment. Yeah, this is this idea that we are kind of finishing something out. There's something finished out, and we have an awareness. There's an awareness dawning on us, and what we're looking for is trying to get past this energy of this Five of Swords, where we are. We're just in this space of feeling like we are limited or feeling like we're defeated. So our next card after this that I've pulled is Temperance. Okay. And this is where we have the angel with the 2 jugs of water. And Kathleen, hello, good morning. Good to see you. Good to see everybody on the live stream. So yeah, this is, okay. So we started with the 2 cards, Five of Swords, Judgment, and now we're moving into Temperance. So if I look at these 3 together, this suggests to me that, okay, so if we've been in this space of feeling limited, defeated, there may be an awakening here of certain things. And Temperance is a Sagittarius energy. It definitely encourages us towards balance, towards moving towards this energy of trying to find a way in which things that seem like they're opposite can come together, or where things where we feel like we have to make a decision, right? Where we feel like it has to be one way or the other, that actually there might be a way that two contrary things end up fitting together. Okay, because Temperance is about an energy of integration. Okay, so this is an energy of bringing things together. It's an energy of integration. But we've got these kind of 3 influences here that are kind of strange. We've got the 3 of Swords first. Now, 3 of Swords we know is a card of sorrow. It's a card of separation, and actually that's a rune I've been seeing all week is Odila, which is the rune of separating paths. So I don't know this is necessarily. I mean, for some people at the end of Venus retrograde, this could be breaking off a relationship. It doesn't have to be a love relationship. It can be any kind of relationship that perhaps has made us feel this way, perhaps has made us feel limited or drained or unable to do things. Like that may be what we're waking up to with Judgment, kind of seeing things for what it is and saying, okay, I'm finally going to take a step on this. I can see how that actually has applied to the last few weeks. I've had some situations where I've had to say, okay, you know what? There's just been some situations that I've had to just kind of put my foot down and say, okay, this is, no more of this. This is enough of this. This is done. So, and focusing a little bit more on my own peace, my own harmony, and my own balance. But this is not just about me. This I feel is something that is concurrent with the energies right now. With Venus and Mercury retrograde, those have certainly called into question our relationships, and they've kind of forced a pause on communications and things. But now that this moment of clarity is coming in just before Venus goes direct this weekend, there's this sense that we're really seeing where our energy has been taken up in places that's not healthy for us, right? Remember, our South Node collectively is in Virgo, so Virgo is about our health, among other things. And so I feel like we're in this area of what is good for my health, not just physically but also mentally, and what kind of past habits and whatever do we need to. Because there's a lot in an area of familiarity there, a lot in the area of habit when you have the South Node. The South Node is where you're comfortable and what you've, what you're used to. So, so there's definitely seems like there's a cutting away here. And like I said, this seems to me to have to do with relationship, but it can also have to do with, I don't know, just other things that you're severing yourself from. If we think about the devil energy, right? The devil energy has been kind of prevalent. And the devil is the energy of attachment. And what we're seeing here instead is an energy of detaching. Even Venus and Aquarius. Aquarius is a detached energy. And I mean, it's a humanitarian energy. It focuses more on the collective rather than maybe on ourselves or on our own things. It's more about the group. And so Venus and Aquarius in this particular card suggests to me that there's a need to detach from certain desires, right? There's that where places where we're limited, people who make us feel limited, people who try to make us feel small, or try to somehow dim our light or obscure what it is that we're doing. There's kind of a waking up to that, and there's a need to kind of move past it, So yeah, so there's going to be some things that are coming to an end here. And interestingly, it's next to the Page of Swords. Now, Page of Swords is definitely a card of my friend JR, whenever he reads this card, he hates this card, because even though it doesn't always mean what he thinks it means, I feel like in this context, it means how he usually interprets it. And that is that people who have been in the background, sometimes these are gossipy people, sometimes they're people who, spread rumors and stories and things like that. It doesn't have to specifically be that, but it could be somebody who kind of watches, doesn't necessarily get involved, but maybe judges and talks from a distance, or things going on behind your back. And again, with Page of Swords, I've seen this card show up like when people, for example, sign new contracts and things. Okay, Page of Swords can be connected to that. Page of Swords can be somebody who maybe admires you from afar, but is too afraid, kind of very indirect and doesn't want to say anything and doesn't want to come out, get too close. Page of Swords can be that kind of an energy as well. And so I don't know. So I just feel like with the Three of Swords and then the card that follows it, which is the Eight of Swords. Okay. This just suggests to me that, I don't know, there's a person or a situation in the background that it's like, you know what? I think we finally are waking up to what it is. Waking up to people and situations that do affect our peace, that do affect our ability to balance ourselves. And so there's this sense of needing to have some kind of a separation. Now, whether that separation means the ending of a relationship or a friendship, I mean, it could mean that. It could mean a timeout. Or it could even be referring to something where there's some kind of a sorrow at a particular separation. And the separation could just be, one of distance, for example. You could see two people who are far away, and maybe there's somebody who's kind of been doing something from a distance, but there's definitely this sense of separation here. So I don't know. I'm feeling like there's this energy of people in the background. Certainly, I feel like I'm out of my swords energy finally. Three of Swords keeps coming up in my polls. Oh, and hello, Joanne. Didn't see you on there. Keeps coming up in my polls. Interesting. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of the separation things. And Suda says she's feeling like she's out of her swords energy. So that's good. That's good, because it's not that it's bad to have all this mental energy, but oftentimes swords can represent where we have too much of it. You know what I mean? Or sometimes where we can be too clinical about things, too precise, too clinical, but on the other hand, it can be, I'm able to see through the BS too, depending on the cards. Like the Queen of Swords is a card of, I can see through the nonsense that's going on, So, yeah. So I don't know. So Page of Swords, yeah, I just feel like there's stuff. Joanne says, yay. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of getting into this space where, there's just a sense here that we are waking up to those things that are not serving us. She says, no, I'm tired of my head. Well, that's just it. And actually, yeah, a lot of times this energy is in our head. It's not so much about other people, but it is something that tends to be the places where we limit ourselves, or actually to that point, maybe it's just cutting those voices off in your head, to finally say, you know what? And interestingly, because the next card is the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords is, of course, the way in which we mentally tie ourselves up in knots. It's not the Nine of Swords. The Nine is that energy of laying awake at night and being anxious and catastrophizing and things like that. This is more of an energy of, it's usually the woman who's blindfolded, right? And she's among the swords. She's kind of bound on top, but she's bound by something that she could easily break out of. She's not really the idea that she is stuck is more in her head because she has the blindfold on. She's not seeing the fact that she's not really that stuck. Her legs are not bound. I mean, she can just go like this. I think, was it April at Moon and Gemini will say, LLC will say, she always refers to it as tissue paper torture. The idea that you are tormenting yourself with bonds that are really not really binding you at all, but mentally you think that they are. So yeah. So okay. So just to kind of recap, we're not quite done yet. We got one more card, but to kind of recap here, we've got this Five of Swords, which is this energy of feeling limited or defeated. But we've got Judgment, which is kind of this idea of that it's another reevaluation card. It's a card of saying, okay, I'm finally waking up to something and I'm ready for a rebirth. I'm ready for a new thing, which will keep me in balance. Well, tissue paper torture. But yeah, that was the phrase she used. And so I'm going to cite my source there. I'm not going to take credit for hers. Ooh, this card too is strange. The self-inflicted bonds. Yeah. I don't know. I think we're working together a little bit today, Joanne. So maybe it's reflecting some of what's coming up in your readings. So yeah, which is interesting. But yeah, there's definitely this sense of, and when you see Three of Swords and Eight of Swords together, there's almost the idea of needing to cut something off and to get out of that space of being stuck. Because it could be a person that's making us feel stuck. It could be a perception of something going on in our environment that's making us feel stuck. Because again, that Page of Swords could be a person, it could be a situation. It could just be feeling like something lurks in the background and we're really like, are people talking about us? Are people saying this? Are people doing that? But again, with Judgment and Temperance, I almost feel like there's a sense that we're waking up to that. And when you have this excessive sword energy, I feel like the balancing here is that we need to kind of balance it with this energy, with the energy of our intuition, right? But I think that's been extra hard too, because there's so much activity in Pisces right now. And Pisces is at least one of the big places where our intuition comes from, but it's also the thing that can delude us, right? It's the thing that can fill us with self-doubt. And with Saturn in Pisces, I think there's an especial challenge there to say, hey, how much of this is real? So there's a lot of mental sorting here, a lot of trying to figure out what's been going on that we're not seeing, what's been being said that I'm not hearing, where do I need to cut ties, and really, where do I need to get out of my head? These are both about really, okay, the phrase that I would use, either stories or narratives, right? The stories that we tell ourselves, or the things that we believe about ourselves that are limiting, where we say, well, I really can't follow this path. I really can't follow my dreams because I am, because of X, Y, and Z. There's some reason why I would like to do this, but I never can because I have this obligation, or I have that obligation, or, oh, I'm dealing with this person and this person will never change. And, we kind of have all of these things that we assume are keeping us in this little prison, that are keeping us in place. But these are basically saying, there's a lot of this energy here. And I feel like this is almost a summary of the retrograde, of what we've been going through. Because certainly retrogrades are a time of limiting beliefs. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And it's funny, we all have them. And oftentimes we can identify them too. Like if somebody were to sit down and talk to you and say, okay, what about this and this? You might go, oh, yeah, I have, I do. I have been believing that. And we may say to ourselves, well, yes, that's a limiting belief. And I should not have that belief. I should let that belief go. But that's easier said than done, because our habit is to act, on the script of that belief. We have a hard time separating ourselves from that, So with Judgment, yeah, I mean, we've been evaluating all of this, and we're really trying to see things for what they are, and we're really trying to close out cycles. So I think the cycle that we're closing out here, a lot of it is very much tied to mental energy, and it's tied to, I don't know, just this sense of feeling trapped or feeling stuck. Yeah, it's definitely been a pity party for one for some time. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think okay. I think I wouldn't think about it that way in your case. I think you've just got a lot of things going on, and I think maybe some of the things that are going on are forcing you to say, okay, what do I believe about this, or what do I believe about that? I don't think it's necessarily that you're feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, maybe you think you are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know your own head better than I do, right? But I don't know. I feel like it's more trying to yeah, just trying to find out what's real and what's not real with regard to this kind of stuff. There's been a lot of challenges trying to do that. But the fact that temperance kind of shows up in the midst of all this says to me that, okay, if we think about the way alchemy works, if we think about what I often said about Tantra, is the idea that you are taking the crap of the world. I realize it and I'm done. I'm all good. Okay, good. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I'm much in the same mood last 2 weeks. So how much is planetary? Well, it's been a rough planetary month. Let me tell you, I've been struggling with things as well. And it has been certainly been weird. But I think temperance here is a reminder there that there's an alchemy, that out of the crap that we experience, that's where the gold is, right? What's an alchemist do? They said they're turning lead into gold, but you know, if you read a lot of Jung's works on the connectium iunctionis, when the fact that there's no J in Latin makes it really weird. But basically, it's the sacred marriage, and temperance kind of represents that sacred marriage. It represents that coming together of we have all these disparate elements. It's not so much that things are divided and split, okay, like we have here. It's more a case of how do we harmonize those things? How do those things actually inform each other, even if they're totally opposite to each other? You know, how do oil and water work together, right? How do fire and water work together? And that's kind of the whole idea. Like when I talk about tantric ideas, I mean, what I mean by that is the fact that everything is sacred. There's a lot of crap to work with these days. I know, godly. We feel like we're kind of standing in manure field lately. Let me tell you. But out of that crap, that's where you make the gold. That's where the opportunity is. And the question is, where's the opportunity? And actually, yeah, I mean, this may be why we're kind of seeing this. We've got these two major arcana in the midst of all of this mental energy. This mental energy that makes us feel stuck, limited, sorrowful. And so, yeah, it's just, there's just this, yeah, there's this energy of trying to figure out, we're kind of realizing where we're at, okay? I think there's been a big reevaluation to kind of give us a sense of where we're really at. And we're getting to a point, I think, especially once Venus goes direct and once we see some of this other planetary movement that we're going to be seeing the rest of this month. As we had mentioned, April's going to be a month where things slowly start to clear, where that which has been confusing is finally going to start to dissipate. So, yeah, so there's this judgment about coming to an awakening of what's real for us and trying to figure out, where does this fit in? How do we integrate this into the big picture? Where do we have the opportunities here? And yeah, it's not always, I don't want to insinuate that it's always an easy question to answer, okay? Because frequently it's not. And our outcome card here is the Page of Cups, okay? Now, the Page of Cups is actually kind of a nice ending. You know, you've got all of this mental energy, this crazy mental energy, these ideas of separations and dealing with sorrow and dealing with limitation and dealing with jealousy and dealing with or competition or feeling like we're not enough, and trying to really decide what's true, trying to decide what fits. I think this is kind of the big picture here. But Page of Cups is like this little, this is at the end. This is our outcome. So, okay, pages imply a few things. For one thing, I always see the Page of Cups as a messenger who brings that little unexpected piece of good news or of happy news. Okay, so I consider that to be a very good thing. But pages, they are messengers, and they also bring beginnings. They bring beginnings. We are at a point of a new beginning. And of course, cups, as we know, has to do with heart energy, not mental energy. I know I always come around to this. I feel like I sound like a broken record, but I keep coming around to the idea that, yeah, we are, it's almost like there's going to be this good news, or there's going to be something. Pages also represent kind of like aces. They represent something that's new or just starting out. So we are just starting to move into the heart space, and we've got all of this sword energy that we feel like is like attacking us from all sides. But yeah, how do we hold our balance? How do we hold our own in the middle of all that? So the Page of Cups, it definitely seems to be pointing in the direction of the heart. And it does seem to be pointing in the direction of good news after this period of feeling very, very confused, very, like making us rethink things, making us revisit what we've always believed, and now saying, okay, maybe the way I've always done it, or even, okay, it's not necessarily that we did it the wrong way. It could just be that the way that we're doing it isn't going to work moving forward. And there's a lot of that, there's a lot moving forward that may or may not work for us. And so the areas where we feel the most resistance, where we feel the most stressed, it's kind of like, okay, doing things the same way, if that hasn't been working, it's kind of like, okay, so what do we need to drop? What obligations do we need to drop? If certain relationships are only toxic and draining us and are not actually helping us, then then it doesn't serve us. And these may be the situations and people that we are, letting go of, and that we are, pushing out of our lives, or situations that we may be pushing out of our lives, or alternately, maybe, I don't know quite what that's about. But it's, yeah, so we are kind of in this space where we are, I don't know, we're trying to figure out what's real for us. We're trying to find where our heart is. But I think this retrograde has been characterized, and of course with Venus retrograde, that is going to be difficult for matters of the heart. It is going to be difficult for matters of relationship. And so, yeah, it's been, and the fact, and again, I think people are always saying, why does this one feel especially bad? And as I've mentioned, it's because the two of them are going backwards together. And it's just, it's creating chaos individually and collectively. Because remember, Mercury and Venus are planets close to the Earth, so they do have a direct influence on our lives. The outer planets do influence us in a broader sense, but they're not, their energies are not as close to us. Mercury and Venus are, relatively speaking, close to us. So they're closer than the sun. So it's, yeah, it's definitely, there's a sense that we are really, really, like, the heat is being turned up on seeing people in situations for what they are, seeing where we may have deceived and maybe blocking ourselves, and then being able to break out of those patterns. So I pulled a couple of Moonology cards. I am going to do our regular Osho Zen reading, but we've got the new moon eclipse card again, and we just had an eclipse, right? Expect powerful change. Expect powerful change. And that's actually a very good omen in this card. Even though eclipse energy, though, you have to remember, it brings good things, but it's bumpy. It's a bumpy ride. It's not just smooth sailing. Oh, here's the eclipse, now it's smooth sailing. That's not usually how it works. There's some things that are uncomfortable. There's some things that are jarring, but we do get to where we need to go. We do get to that new place. We expect that powerful change. And whatever it is you are trying to manifest, this is saying, like, the omen for that is very, very good. It's very, very good for you being able to do what it is you want to do. But there could be some uncomfortable moments along the way. Now, the other card I pulled from this is the waning moon card, which is what do you need to release? Okay. And these are the two energies. This does kind of go along with what I saw in here. What do you need to release? Where are you mentally stuck? Where that 5 and 8 of Swords energy? Where are you mentally stuck? Where do you think you can't move ahead? Where do you feel other people are talking about you or judging you, right? Where do we, and what connections, maybe where there are people who are subtly trying to, I don't know, maybe sometimes people are not overtly and directly jerks, okay? There may be people who it's not quite so obvious and not quite so evident, but you know, there's this, I don't know, there's just this energy of, but there's people who are very, who very subtly can affect us. You know, there's people who are, it's not so much, there's somebody who seems like they're a friend, and maybe says nice things to you, and oh, you know, you're this and that and the other. But there's something about their energy, like there's people who are more passive aggressive, or my sister and I were talking about this the other day. People who kind of try to get you riled up by saying things that they know trigger you, and then when you react, they go, "Oh, well, you know, I'm so sorry you're feeling like that." You know what I mean? Like people who kind of play these kind of games with you. There's a fair amount of seeing through that. I've had some Azrael messages about that too this week, about certain individuals, I'm going to say these are certain family individuals, where it's been, I've gotten the message of, you know, don't bring in any admiration, like, you know, remain in your feelings about the situation. You know, don't try to sugarcoat anything. You know, so sometimes maybe that's where the sword energy is too. Maybe situations that people in situations that we've tried to justify their behavior or justify a situation, it may be going, you know what? Maybe you don't want to make excuses for somebody, you know? I mean, again, it all depends. Why are people like that? Well, Suda, I think people tend to be like that because a lot of it does have to do with insecurity. It has to do with insecurity and fear. And when I say fear, I don't mean people walking around like something's going to jump out at them in any minute necessarily kind of fear, but more of the sense of an insecurity about their own identity. So what they do is they end up kind of picking on people around them because they're trying to find a way. It's almost like the same way in which you see that kind of fighting that goes on among different species, where they or the mating season, where you see the certain birds and other types of animals that fight with each other, you know, to get I don't know, female attention or whatever it is. I mean, it's not necessarily about getting the attention of anybody in particular. But we do live in a world where everybody is clamoring to be seen, and everybody is clamoring to have, you know, the most likes, the most visibility, the most this, the most that. This is the way we are socially. We've been told that we live in a society that's about ambition. It's about social climbing. It's about, you know, look at me and look at what I do. And if they think somebody else is doing it better, or if they are very insecure about themselves. It's like when people are insecure about their looks and they start looking at how everybody around them looks, right? And like, well, how do I compare to that person? You know, it's the things that we do because our minds make us afraid, basically. Our minds make us afraid. Our minds, the thing that make us conscious and aware, and in theory, should give us a very broad experience of things, actually ends up limiting us in a lot of ways, because the more we're aware of, the more fearful we become. The more we focus on past mistakes. Oh, right, dualistic approach. I never jive with that. No, well, right, but that is the society we live in. It's very dualistic, and so there's that thing, and then also the constant worrying about the future. Am I going to keep what I have? Am I going to maintain what I have? That's where greed often comes out of too. It's like this idea that what I have is never enough. Suda says we can all be great and unique. Yeah, absolutely. And because we all are great and unique. I mean, we all have something to offer. It's not, you know, I mean, some people obviously have, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are people in this world that have certain liabilities, but I mean, everybody has the potential to be great and unique. Let's put it that way. It's a matter of, everybody has gifts. It's a matter of how they use them, and what their priorities are in terms of using them. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so our center card today, remember I was talking about temperance with opportunities? Well, look who our center card is today. We have the Page of Rainbows in this one, and this is the Adventure card. Okay, this is the little child getting ready to, this is getting ready to go into the woods, right? Seeing instead of the woods being the dark, scary place where the monsters are, this is where there's that light that beckons to some kind of an adventure, right? So yeah, there's the idea of trying to look for the opportunity, trying to see things as an adventure. Because the inner feeling of which we're unaware, we have this Lover's energy. Now, okay, we know that the Lover's card can be about choice. It's Gemini energy. But in this deck, it is about love. It's about actually wanting to have authentic connection with people. And authentic connection doesn't always have to be romantic, okay? But, you know, just authentically being able to respect and trust everybody around you. You know, this is something I think we would like to have. This is something we would like to strive for. This is something we'd like to see more of in the world, because if people did have that kind of respect for each other, then it would be a very, very different place. I mean, we might all still have our differences and our ups and downs and so forth, but if we had a level of security about ourselves and a level of recognition that, you know, people sometimes are hurting and coming to different places, different stages of things, it might be a more harmonious environment, right? Whatever the situation, we know it's never going to be totally 100% harmonious, but certainly there's a striving for that. Okay, and the external feeling of which we are aware is possibilities. Two of Wands, you know, flying above. Again, right next to adventure. Possibilities, well, for some people, it could be possibilities for love, but I think it's more possibilities for, you know, when I say love, I mean like romantic love or partnership. But I think this is more about, you know, just possibilities to love life, to love yourself, because obviously loving yourself is first before you can love anybody else. And when I say love yourself, I don't mean like, oh, I have a big ego and think I'm just, you know, so great and F everybody else. It's more of a case of, no, I love myself enough that when other people start playing these games, they really doesn't matter. I know who I am, you know, and I'm comfortable with who I am. So yeah. And it's, let's see, we've got some person on here. Yeah, so we've got, so the card that we've got here is control. And so this card comes up, this is the King of Clouds. It's like, this is where, remember, that's that sword energy again, that mental energy. We need to yield control. We need to get rid of it. So yeah, where do we need to let go of control? Where do we, if we're trying to move into the heart space, where do we, you know, where are we being too much in our head? Where are we being too much in, I have to control the outcome? So it's like somebody's asking about this, and no, as a matter of fact, it's well, it isn't, right? But yeah, so this is, yeah, so we have this, so this idea of letting go of control. And ultimately, our outcome card is the Tower. This is the Thunderbolt. That's that Iranian energy, right? This is coming in. So yeah, so it's kind of saying you want to find where your heart is. You want to reach out to have this kind of connection, and you want to let go of control right now, because the more mental energy I think that we apply in this situation that we're in right now, the harder it's going to be to you know, the harder it's going to be to find that connection, right? But I think the Thunderbolt card, though, too, that is also a card of awakening. It's like we're finally, we're tearing down the things that no longer matter, and we're finding that space where we are where we're finding what's real. It's like if we've been worried about, I don't know what's real and what's not real, that particular card says, what's real is going to become clear pretty fast. It's like what's false gets torn down really, really fast. And then there's going to be the work of restructuring based on what's actually true. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to go on an adventure, and we have to let go of the process. We have to let the universe do its thing right now. And so interesting reading. Yeah, and I'm hopefully I wasn't too diffuse today, because my this morning I feel like words are kind of long and coming out of my mouth. I feel like I'm saying things, and it's kind of like probably the disconnect between Restream and YouTube. I feel like there's a delay. So it's kind of a strange morning with that. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I guess we're at Wednesday now. So I should be back on tomorrow morning. As usual, I am taking Sundays off. If anything else comes up where I need to take a day off, obviously. I know not all of you are on Instagram now. I usually post there and on Facebook when I'm not going to be on. But if for some reason you come at 7:30 and there's no live, then you know that for some reason I had to take a day. So, but anyway, we'll shoot for tomorrow. Hope everybody has a great Wednesday.